things he won't ever tell you. Okay, that caught my attention, and I know women wonder about that sort of thing. Why won't he tell us? But why do we want to know? So let's keep that in mind as we talk here. Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. Happy to welcome Robert Manni back to our program, the author of The Guy's Guide to Love. I have it right here, Robert. Today's conversation actually was inspired by your book. And the host of Guy's Guy Radio and TV. Thanks so much for being here again, Robert.
My pleasure, Silka. One of my favorite places to hang out.
Well, I'm glad. I've got a couple of things I want to talk to you about. Like I said, Robert, if you for some reason haven't seen him yet, he is our, the guy's guy perspective on what women want to know, and he'll tell you the truth. And this is what his book was all. I love the book. It's, so pick it up. We'll link to it. I came across this article and I thought, another good discussion with Robert. The title is Things He Won't Ever Tell You. Okay, that caught my attention, and I know women wonder about that sort of thing. So I picked out some of them. We'll link to the article, and you can go through it yourself. But there was some worthy of a conversation, I think. Not just because why won't he tell us, but why do we want to know? So let's keep that in mind as we talk here. The first one, his faults in his past relationships, that most men, they'll talk about their past relationships, but they won't own up to their mistakes. What do you think about that?
Well, I think just to set some context for the article, this was written by a woman whose background is in banking. Now she's writing these articles, which is great. All praise and power to her. But if the guys, these are things guys won't tell you, well, obviously they must have told her. Because she's telling us the things that they didn't say. So maybe these are things that guys don't want to tell you or are hesitant about telling you. So just for clarification there, I think that's what it's got to be, because obviously the guys are telling her for her to make this summary on this, like these are things guys won't tell you. So anyhow, that's just a sticking point there for me. About his faults in past relationships, you have to look at the motive there, Silka. I think if a guy's trying to make a point about here's where I screwed up and it won't happen again and I learned my lesson, that could be a good thing. And a guy will tell you about something like that. Now, if he said, I've always cheated, just every time I just like anything I can get my hands on, that's probably not a wise move by the guy. And he's probably not the best partner for you to have either if you're a woman and you're looking for a one-on-one relationship. So I guess with all of these things, we have to just not take the statement, but what the statement could possibly mean. So in terms of faults in past relationships, if somebody talks about their faults just in general, it's not a bad thing as long as there's a positive, like a good ending to it, where I learned. And if they didn't learn and like, this is how I'm a creep, that's probably not the thing you want to really hear. Like, oh, okay.
Well, her point is that guys they'll never admit to their mistakes, which I think that this is also to your point earlier that, you have to put it into perspective where she's coming from. One, she's younger, which I think is interesting. Is this still true, or was it ever true for us? But this almost should be titled "What Women Want to Know But Men Won't Tell Us." I think is the context I'm going to put it in.
Good point.
Yeah. So number two, I think you kind of alluded to it. How many people he slept with and who they are. Yeah, we kind of want to know, but do we really want to know? And would we ever ask? And would they ever tell?
Well, I guess every woman there would be, and I'm not a woman, so I'm not sure, but there'd be a curiosity. As a guy, you're kind of curious as to like how many guys have she done this with, but in a way you don't want to know because you don't want that imagery. And also if it's like any of your friends that she's dated, you kind of want to know, but you don't want to know that. So it's a slippery slope there. I think what you want to know is this guy, male whore, or is he like just a guy who's dated a lot or has different relationships? And if somebody's single and they've had relationships and one-on-one relationships, of course they're going to sleep with different people while not while in those specific relationships, but if they've had 10 relationships, that's 10 women they've slept with. So it's understandable, and you can't really fault anybody for that.
Right.
Now, if there's somebody's just sleeping around all the time, and do you want to know that? I guess it's better to know what type of guy. It's about the integrity and the character of the man. So I guess a woman would want to know that. And the guy, is he going to admit, well, I slept with 150 women over the last 3 years? Do you want to know that? Maybe you want to know because that's too much information and something that maybe will convince you maybe this is not the guy, and I'm another notch on the belt, so to speak. So I guess, again, we have to put it, to your point, Silke, into perspective and context as to where we're coming from and what we want to get out of his answer and this revelation.
Yeah, exactly. I think that question is just, it leads to nothing but, conflict. So you kind of wonder, you always wonder, but do you really want to know the imagery, as you said? Exactly. Well, and here's another point, which is just who or what he fantasizes about when doing the deed. Why would you ever ask that, and why would you ever tell? What does that lead to?
Well, if a guy is fantasizing about another woman while he's making love to you or with you, that's a bad sign. I mean, hopefully, you're fantasizing about the best aspects of your relationship with the person you're with, and you're adding dimension to it and really expanding it while you're in the process. So it's a one-on-one relationship, and it's a beautiful thing to grow that and to fantasize about the one you're with, and particularly while you're in the act of intimacy. That's a good thing. If you're thinking about somebody else at that time, I would question that. Is that a healthy thing for the relationship? Because if he's doing it with me and he's thinking about her, how do I fit into the equation here except as a somebody, as a body that's there? And that might not be a good thing for anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And for him too, for the guy also. If he's thinking about somebody else, like, what are you doing with this woman if you're all about some fitness model you saw on Instagram or something? I mean, you got to shake that stuff off. And when you're with your woman, and that's it.
Well, they even say that, some people say that's cheating, then that's a whole other discussion. But where does that lead to? Just forget those questions. Yeah, you might want to know, but those are just stupid questions. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You could ask, the guy, like, who do you fantasize about before you met me? Yeah. Who was like your dream girl? What's your type? Like, what type of, do you like this or that? And blondes or Asian or whoever, or women of color, whatever it is, if you want to talk about that, okay, but is it going to help your relationship when you learn about maybe some of his secret fantasies or whatever? I don't know if that's a real good thing. Right. I don't see how it helps.
Just forget that question. This was interesting. He doesn't always enjoy boys' night out. This is what kind of turned me around to where, this is what we want to know, not necessarily what he won't tell us. We want, like in my case, I don't really want him to enjoy it. but why would this even come up? And is it true?
No, I think, well, it depends. It depends on who the friends are. If you're listen, if let's say a guy likes sports and his partner doesn't like sports and doesn't want the big TV on with the football or ESPN Sports Center all the time, it's like, enough. And the guy basically acquiesces, and maybe he listens on his headphones or watches on his personal device, whatever. But it's nice, I think, also, and it's good and healthy for a relationship if the guy gets out there with his buddies and maybe they go to the local brew pub and watch a game together and have some burgers and fries or whatever it is. I think that's healthy. And I also think it's good for the ladies to get out with their girlfriends and, chop it up and see what's going on. And then when you come back, you realize what you have, and for better or for worse. I think it's healthy that with couples, a lot of times, and I've fallen into this, where it gets too much, you're into this little insular world and you don't get out enough and connect with other people as much as what should be healthy. So I think boys' night out is a healthy thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So do I. I think that the question or the point being raised is riddled with insecurities. So anyway, it's just interesting. It's which is why I wanted to talk about it with
Hmm.
you. The next one, he's and this is a good one. He's jealous of your male friends and your exes. That, but he'll never tell you that. This also leads, in my mind, to the question: can men and women really be friends? Talk to me about that.
Well, there's two questions there. I think, a lot of guys and a lot of women too, they're going to be wary or leery a little bit about close friends of the opposite sex, and also particularly in business, and if there's travel involved and all of that. Things, is it insecure? A little bit, but it's just human nature. So I don't think that anything wrong with that. The other part of it was, can men and women be friends? And I think they can. I think they can. Even when I was in my online dating days, and I met some women online, and we spent some time, and it didn't work out. It's possible to leave things on a friendly note, even
Mm-hmm.
if a relationship doesn't come out of it, and then you can meet her friends, or she can meet your friends, or whatever. It's a big world, and I think men and women should make every effort possible to be friends with some folks who are of the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever your preference is. That's not about sex and romance. I think that's healthy, and that's how it should be. Whether it is that way, I think over time, when we get to like your target audience, your listeners, and I think they're at the point where they can handle that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a good thing. If somebody's over 50 and they can't handle being friends with a woman without thinking about, I've got to get her, that to me is like, that's not healthy. That's
Yeah.
like, come on, enough. You can't be friends with somebody of the opposite sex at this point. There's plenty of, if you want a partner, there's plenty available people out there. It's up to you to make the effort, but you can't look at every woman as a target.
Yeah.
You've got to control yourself a little more than that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, for the longest time, I would say that men and women can't, just because of what I experienced in, my 20s, 30s, 40s. And I still don't know. I don't know. I probably insecurities on my end as well when I think about this. But I think you can only be friends if both people think you can.
Hmm. That makes perfect sense.
And anyway, it's that's almost worthy of a whole other conversation. Here's another good one. How he feels about your family. In this reference, she's talking about mother-in-law and kids. But this is really important for us as we get started again. How our children, perhaps, feel. How should you tell somebody how you feel about their kids?
Well, it depends on what the relationship is. So let's start with big
Mm-hmm.
family picture. You know, uh, Families are important if, you're going to be connecting with them at some point, even if it's limited to the holidays, you're going to have some exposure there. So if you really can't stand them, or it's just like oil and water, you've got to have to manage your behavior to make it turn it into as a positive experience and get through it as you can, because you don't want to have an issue there, because even if the family member or members are maybe not treating you well or they're wrong, it's hard for your partner to trash their family, because even though they're going to know that a lot of stuff that's not of the issues there, they don't want to have to make excuses for their family,
Right.
or that's their family, so you're going to have to deal with it one way or
Yeah.
the other. So, and we've all experienced this. Their family is for life,
Yeah.
so they're not going to go away. So, and
Yeah.
you can't expect somebody to turn on their family, and that's not a good thing either. You want them to have them a little bit of like some pride in their family, and then if they do that, and it'll help you maybe think about, oh, this person really annoys me, but she's good at this, and she's been helpful in this area, or
Yeah.
whatever, and just focus on that stuff, and focus on the good, because as you know, Silka, when we focus on the positives, sometimes we find more positives coming our way, and we focus on the negatives, it's almost like we're attracting the negatives. And it's so trite to say that, but it actually works that way. If you're having a bad day, if you keep saying, I'm having a bad day, the day doesn't seem to get better. But if you
Right.
just say, I'm going to shake that off, and now I'm
Mm-hmm.
pointed in the right direction, you have a better shot of making a day of it.
Great point. Great point. And I agree with you. I think, this is just the point. Just shut up. Don't trash family. It doesn't go anywhere. I don't blame the guy for not wanting to, for whatever, how this is positioned here. No, you don't tell anybody that. Here's another interesting one. When he sings praises about you to others, I really don't know how that came out or why she would write that, but there is truth to that, in that like, I feel that way. I always hear from Paul's friends that, oh my God, he talks about you all the time, and I hear this, and he never gives me compliments. I don't get that.
Well, that's your specific situation. So I would think he'd be complimenting you if he's singing your praises to his friends.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just the way it is. I don't know Paul, and he obviously has great taste. But that's your personal situation. In terms of in general, I think singing your partner's praise to other people is a really good thing. But the question becomes, well, how else would they know about it unless they played that back to you, like, oh, he says such great things about you, and maybe he does, but the other person doesn't say anything about that. So how would you know then?
Exactly. But why would a guy not want or never tell you that he sings your praises? I thought that was strange. I never thought about that.
I understand that, because I don't think, why would let's say I'm singing the praises of my wife to somebody else. I don't go back and tell her to get brownie points, like, hey, I just told them how great you are. It's like, I just do that.
Okay.
And I'm not looking to get, I'm not going to go tell her that I did that. But I'm a grown man. I'm not going to say, I told them really good things about you, honey.
Well, maybe that's how she meant it. Good point. I might not have understood what she meant here, so I'll go for you. We'll do the last one. That, my goodness, it goes by fast. He yearns for affirmation. I think this is always a good point. We've had this in other videos, but that he really wants acknowledgement for doing good things, for doing something right, but he'll never tell you that, because then he thinks that positions him as being weak.
Yeah, or needy. Yeah, I think it's absolutely 100% true. Affirmations and validation to a man from his partner, I think, are incredibly important, because you want to hear the good stuff also, not that it's just taken for granted. And I think that's a very important point for any relationship, or any lady who's with a guy. It's important to keep in mind to be positive when he does positive things, and remind him of the good things he does. And you could say, why does he need that for? Because he's a human being, and he's listening to probably a lot of other stuff, and a little minor criticisms about how we can do this or that better. So just include that in the flow.
Yeah, that's great point. Robert, as always, this is just really fun to talk with you about this stuff and get your perspective. I'll, of course, link to all of your information, as I usually do, your radio show, your YouTube channel. Before we close, is there anything else you want to leave with us?
Well, I think in terms of this particular topic, I think it's most important that people treat people the way they want to be treated. Mm-hmm. So treat your partner the way you want to be treated. If you want to think about the fitness model on Instagram while you're making love to your girlfriend, what if she wants to think about, Keanu Reeves or whoever? Do you want that? So when you're going to do something, ask yourself, would I like it if she was doing that also? Mm-hmm. And just so the point is just respect, self-respect, and respect your partner as best you can.
Great point. Robert, thank you. We'll see you again soon on Second Act TV.
Thank you.
If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right over here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too. We'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.